On today's show, interdisciplinary artist Harley Salamanca and singer-songwriter Shawn Andrew. Join me as we learn more about these hidden gems of London. Welcome to London's Hidden Talent. I'm your host, Jennifer Martino. In London, Ontario, our art and culture scene is thriving thanks to the creative talents of lifelong Londoners and people from around the world who have made this community their home. Together, we will get to know the people who are bringing our stages, galleries, and streets to life. First up, we have Harley Salamanca, an interdisciplinary artist excelling in fine arts, music, and design. Originally from Colombia, Harley migrated to London, Ontario in 2005. He holds an honors fine arts degree with a specialization in the studio stream from the University of Waterloo. Harley's work explores themes of digitization, geometry, light, and surreal landscapes. His art is exhibited widely across Canada. In 2015, Harley represented Colombia at the International Championship Art Battle during the Toronto Pan American Games. Harley, thank you for joining us at London's Hidden Talent today. It is so good to be able to get to know you a little bit better, and for Londoners to get to know you. They will see you out in the community. You are a social person. You also work in the financial sector, so they might see you that way. But I know at heart, you are first and foremost an artist and a very important part of the London art scene. So thanks for taking the time to help us get to know you better.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Jennifer.
And you are a visual artist who joined London in 2005, originally from Colombia, and you studied art at the University of Waterloo. Is art something that you've always been interested in since you were very young, or how did you end up deciding to pursue that at the university level?
Not at all. Like, art wasn't in my mind at all. Like, art started here, like in Canada. The interest for art and the art career started here in Canada. So in Colombia, I pretty much used to skip the art class to go play soccer. So yeah, no, I think it allowed me to have the open window for expression or finding the interest that like Harley had, right? So yeah.
What was that first spark? When do you remember first thinking maybe this is something that you would like to do?
I think once I was in high school and I took a course in art, and it turned out to be like the quality of the drawings that I was doing turned out to be good. So the teachers were kind of surprised and everything. So I liked that. And I kind of found a way to express myself and get involved and distracted me from real life in a way. So it kind of opened a window for me to express myself. And that was it. That was in high school. I started to look into it and see that I actually could make it into a profession.
And I imagine that when you were small then and you were really focused on being on the soccer field, you couldn't have imagined that you would pursue art as a career at the university level. And so was your family surprised when you told them that was going to be your next step?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody was surprised. I think, well, we have a different background. Like, it's more of a finance background from the family or a military background, I would say. So it was expected kind of to have something related to that. But having art, there's nobody artistic. Well, we have artistic things, right, that we express and we try to do, but I don't think anyone as a profession that was in the family an artist, no. So it was very surprising for them, but they all were very supportive, like, yeah.
How did it feel when you got into the art program at the University of Waterloo? What was the process to get accepted into that?
It was hard first of all, because I came here without any English, right? So I had to learn the English. It was hard at first. So the level of education that is provided at university requires for you to be more proficiently speaking or talking or writing essays. You need to be able to do all these things, right? So I think it was hard for me, and I took like a year or 2 years off before going into university, actually. So it was a little bit hard to get used to it, but it was exciting. It was exciting to be involved more with other people that were interested in the same thing, with professors that were known, like all these things. I think it was exciting but yeah.
And are there different types of art that you were exploring through university before you landed on your style?
So, well, I don't think I have particularly have a style right now. I just like to work in different styles right now. So I think as an artist, just like as a human, you become interested in different things, and based on that and those, you either do different techniques or styles. I always like to compare artists to musicians. So let's say you have an album and you write songs, and all those songs maybe about a trip that you had somewhere, and it influenced on you, and it affected you, or it influences you somehow, right, to create songs. The same thing with an artist. Sometimes an artist is interested in the conflict that is happening in another country, or is interested in understanding the expression of the emotions inside. So we're gonna do 5, 10 paintings about that. We're gonna do sculptures about that specific theme, or maybe sculptures or paintings about that specific style. So I think it's important as an artist not to just have one style, like, yeah, but go deep into that style, and just if you're interested into something, just go deep into it, and then create the work, I think.
Now that you mention it, there's a style that I think of as being very uniquely yours, which is the geometric art. And we have an example of that here right with us today behind me. But the first time I saw your art was at Soho's Taco and Tequila, where you have the sugar skulls, the Day of the Dead, what we know as Day of the Dead artistry on the walls there. And that is at quite a different style. You also have art at Che Resto Bar and likely at other places throughout our community. And so I'm glad that you started talking about how you don't have to be just one thing, even if you're known particularly uniquely for a style. But your geometric art is quite different from what we would see from other people. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that style and how you got into that?
Of course. Actually, the idea behind the geometric style is to make it look digital, like to have a digital look. So it all started, so I had 2 series on that geometric style. So one series that talks about memories, and like specifically personal memories or things that have been important about my life, which is, that one is one of them. And there's another that tries to replicate the masterpieces of other artists, such as Picasso or Juan Sanchez Cotán or Van Gogh. Try to replicate whatever painting or whatever style they had. I will try to replicate that into a digital look, into my geometric look. And it's a way for me to think, if they were alive right now, what would they do? What would their art look if I was to make it digital? But the irony is that I'm not using the computer to do that. I'm actually doing the painting. I'm trying to make it look like if it was something digital made. So that's the style that I think, that's the geometric explanation about why this place.
And speaking of what artists would do now differently than they used to do, you have a pretty big presence on social media, and you share things about your art, such as time-lapse videos where you can see them developed over time. And do you think that that's something that those famous artists that you mentioned, like Van Gogh, might have been able to leverage or explore, and how might that have shaped the art that they decide to do?
It's funny that you asked that, because I've been having conflict with myself as an artist, as someone that is an entrepreneur too. So there is a difference between trying to express yourself through the art. Just like music, when you sing in the shower or in the car, you're not trying to be a musician, right? You're not being professional. You're just expressing yourself, something that you like. It's the same thing sometimes with an artist. We have things that we want to do because we are interested in that, we like that, we want to say something, but not necessarily because we want to sell and out there, put yourself out there. So for me, there was a conflict between understanding and dividing the two things. What was my interest, and no maybe get it confused what I wanted to sell or what the market was liking and was dictating my type of art, perhaps, right? Because that's something that you also have to be very careful. Like maybe you're doing landscapes or you're doing portraits, and some people like that. You start just doing that because it sells. So it is important to come back to the expression of yourself, of the interest of yourself through the art, either through the music or through the painting, right? Or through the writing, any type of art, right? So I think that is important. Sorry, I kind of lost my sense on there, but I think that is important, and it is. Again, it's funny that you ask that, because you have to have a division, I think, between the two in order to know where to go. So yeah.
There has been really good uptake of your unique style of art with this geometric and digital combination, kind of analog digital at the same time. For example, you were selected to be part of Up With Art by Museum of London, and that's their big fundraiser of the year where people bid on your work. And I know your piece was of interest to a lot of people. I know that because I was there and I heard people talking about it in the crowd and as I was moving around the room. And so this idea that you have a passion, you have a way of expressing yourself, but also ultimately, if you want to make it as a professional artist, it has to appeal to the audience that's willing to pay for that. That's something that you have had some success with. If there's somebody out there who has a unique style, but they're not sure if they should be pursuing it because they don't know if anyone would buy it, what would you say to that person, either to go in that direction or about striking the balance so that you can still afford to be an artist?
Well, I think, again, I wouldn't recommend people to follow my way of, just honestly, if I'm honest, because I've been trying to balance both the expression of myself and not the marketing of the work, like not doing art to sell just art and to live out of it, but to do the art based on what it is important to me, or what the research or the interest. And you have to combine both in order to be able to be successful, right? That's the whole plan and the idea. So for someone that has a good style or someone that has a technique, I think you, as an artist, you need to understand either are you becoming an artist because you want to make money and you want to be the fame, or you want to be successful that way, or because you want to express yourself, or because you want to say something. So then the money and the other things stays away. So, and I know it's important in this nowadays to think that you have to do that, but I think I'm an example of maybe trying to balance that by working in a financial industry, doing something else, and then doing the art as well. So the art, my heart is always on the art, and it's always going to be in the expression and showing people how to, through expressing themselves, they can also heal themselves, right? Because that's another way, that's another type of art that I do, another series that I do, is showing people how through the expression of emotions and through the art, through the visual qualities of the art, you can also express yourself and move through it, try to heal yourself, just like you do with music. When you sing and all these vibration frequencies that you're doing, right? So it's also a way of healing yourself.
Art has so much to offer us as individuals, but it also has a lot to offer our community. You are a big part of the local art scene, not just because people can see your work everywhere from restaurants to online to places like Museum London, but also because you're out there, you're interacting with other artists and other creative people. And I'm so glad that you landed in this community, that you decided to make this place your home as an adult as well after you graduated. And if people would like to connect with you, they would like to see what you do, or they want to find you out there in the world at something like Up With Art at the museum, how could they do that?
Mainly through my website, harleysalamanca.com, or through social media. I'm very active on social media, Facebook, Instagram.
And is there anywhere in the community where your art is that I haven't mentioned yet? I said Soho Taco and Tequila and Che Resto Bar.
No, not right now. Not in London. In Kitchener, I had like a few places when I used to, but I think not anymore. Like I have one hair salon, and I think they sold the last painting that I had, and that's it.
Well, if there are any businesses out there that are looking to have some art in their establishment, highly recommend the work of Harley. It's just really vibrant, interesting, dynamic, and something that you're not likely to see elsewhere.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Keep
you.
them in mind. Thank you for coming today and spending the time with us. And I hope you meet lots of new neighbors out there and they take the time to say hi to you and learn more about what you do.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Next, we have Shawn Andrew, a singer-songwriter, producer, and music teacher based in London, Ontario. Born in Canada and raised in Portugal, Shawn pursued his musical career after earning a degree in music education from the Polytechnic Institute of Bragança in Portugal. His music is a blend of alternative rock, indie rock, post-punk, synth-pop, flamenco, and tango, influenced by artists such as Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, and Depeche Mode. Shawn has composed soundtracks for mobile video games, recently released a solo track in Portuguese, and was nominated for a Forest City London Music Award in the category of Producer of the Year. Shawn, thank you for joining us on London's Hidden Talent. And I'm so happy for Londoners to have the chance to get to know you. You were born in Canada, but were raised in Portugal, and now you're back here in Canada, and we're so lucky to have you right here in London, Ontario. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And you, when you were in Portugal, you ended up studying music. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came into that?
So, growing up, I used to play the instrument that everyone likes, the recorder. So I play that. I played a bit of keyboard. So I remember when my grandparents spent some time at my family's place, they were sick. So I used to play sometimes recorder or keyboards for them. And then eventually, at the age of 14, my brother was away. He had an electric guitar tucked underneath his bed. And I said, I got to try this. So that moment, I grabbed the guitar and I started just fiddling around with it. And I enjoyed it. And since then, I haven't stopped playing guitar. He ended up giving me his guitar until today, like I've been playing.
And you play a lot of diverse styles of music. We talked about influences ranging from tango, which is one of my favorite kinds of music, right, to synth pop, which I'd never heard of. Can you tell a little bit about those different styles that you draw on and how you ended up drawing on such a diverse grouping of music?
So at the age of 14, when I started writing songs, I was very influenced first by the grunge scene and post-grunge bands like Bush. And then once I hit the Polytechnic Institute in Bragança, as you said previously, then you're submitted to a lot of different genres. So I had a guitar teacher. He was very connected to flamenco. I studied also cello for 2 years, where we played some tango stuff from Piazzolla. So whether at the time we don't notice it or not, I guess eventually over time what happens is we just, it's just part of us, right? Because we listen to it, we perform it, and there's certain sounds that just give us hints into this or to that without being very specific or objectifying it, right? And then I got open to other scenes too, the post-punk in the UK, in the new synth wave. I like dark sounds. Okay, so I have this thing for dark sounds. So yes.
And how does that play out in the music that you create for yourself now?
Well, I don't know how exactly I created it. So normally when I'm sitting down, there's something it just comes to me, and I either write or play right away. But there's not I don't set up a specific time, like, okay, I'm going to write a song today. It doesn't happen like that. I never force my creativity. So what I feel is an energy, and I need to isolate myself, and I just feel something come out, and normally it can come out in an hour, or the song will last sometimes a month, but it comes like in small parts. But yes, they're very they're somewhat dark, but they evoke a bit of hope too throughout the songs. That's what.
And you write music in English and in Portuguese.
Well, so I always wrote my songs in English. I do have one song that I put out, I think 2 years ago. That's in Portuguese, but the lyrics for that song were given to me by my grandmother. She had been in the hospital, and she had written a poem, and she kind of memorized it. One day when I used to go visit her, so every week, once or twice, and she said, "Hey, Shawn, I never gave you anything special." But that's not true, right? This is her saying to me, "Do you want to sit down? Do you want a song?" And I said, "Oh, okay, I want a song." So she said, "Grab a piece of paper and a pen." So while I was sitting, she just starts reciting the whole poem, right? So there were 12 different lines. She said, "Okay, you have a song. So whenever, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't." So I never forced myself. I held the lyrics, and I always had this in the back of my mind. Like, I didn't have a specific song or melody or instrumental to write for it. And I guess it was about 2 years after I was home. She was again sick in the hospital. And suddenly I start playing, and this whole thing starts coming in my playing. I start looping stuff around, and I said, I have her song here. But at that time, I also felt that it was her end in her human physical life. And it felt like it was a signal, so I'm receiving this, but something's leaving to a different world.
And that's something that is a living thing that goes on as well, and is something that you can share on her behalf with other people. What is the song about for those of us who don't speak Portuguese?
So my grandmother had a lot of children. So my mom and her brothers. Don't get me wrong if I say the number wrong. I do think there's 6. So the song, like I think every mother, to their children is, who do they like the most, or who do they love the most, right? And I don't think you ever get that answer. And I think it's always wanting to live more and getting to know them more and not spending more time with them more, right? So I'm not a parent myself, but when I picture myself from my mom's side or my grandmother's side or my dad, I think that's what they want from their children, is to spend time with them, get to know them, and hope that they all flourish, right? So I guess that's my my opinion on that.
Beautiful. What's the name of the song for those who like to hear it?
Meus amores e destinos. So in English, it translates to my loves, my destinies, or my loves and destinies.
Something that you and I have talked about is what it's like to be from a place, go to another place, and almost be reborn. Because when we're in a different culture, when you're living every day in a different language, you feel differently in a different language, your memories are tied to that language. And when you come back home, you're still you, but it's a different version of yourself. And so what has it been like for you to come back to Canada? And people often confuse you, and they say, well, you're Portuguese, you're from there. And you say, no, but I'm actually Canadian first and foremost. What has it been like for you as somebody who's come back to Canada and being a part of our local art and music scene?
So I was very well received when I came to Canada. I started performing at the open mics. I was walking down with a friend that I have met here, and we heard live music. And I go down, and there was a buddy. Now he's a buddy of mine. He said, "Hey, you should come out and play one day." So that night I ended up going to 2 different open mics, and I did that for a long time. And then I started performing, meeting other musicians. And I think that it's kind of how it goes here in London. We go out to open mics and meet a lot of different musicians, and then we end up gathering together and doing some shows. Did that answer the question?
Well, I wonder how you feel about kind of being a part of two different worlds.
Okay, so I think what is identity, right? So both of my parents are Portuguese. I do feel grateful that I did have the opportunity to live there for 20 years. Even though I was born here, I do think after all these years, when you look back, I love to know where my food comes from. I know I grew up in the countryside. I like to know how my fruit is and my vegetables are produced and what are we eating, right? And it was just beautiful. And now anytime I guess our heart is kind of divided. Part of us is in Portugal, part of us is in Canada. I guess we're from the world, right? And that's, I think for most of people I've spoken to who come from a different country, they have this feeling. I love London, but I also love my Portuguese roots, right? And I love my family here, my family there, my friends here, my friends there, right? So we're on both sides and we're still us, we're still connected, right? And I think that's the important thing is we're all kind of connected, so.
Do you see yourself continuing to explore music in Portuguese as well as in English?
Well, that's a good question. I never saw myself singing in Portuguese, so that when my grandmother gave me that, that was actually a challenge for me. I didn't know what was going to come out for it from that. But the vocal takes that's on that recording was the first vocal take. I did not have any melody, and this is me before my PM shift going to work. I just went to the computer, went to the mic. I just set up a volume very fast, and that's what came out. So I tried to later on to try another take, see if I would like it, but I couldn't replicate that emotion or get that. So I like emotion in music. I ended up keeping the first take. So if I'm going to sing more in Portuguese in the future, I don't know.
Have to see what inspiration strikes.
Yes.
If somebody would like to hear you play live or would like to hear the song that we're talking about or any of your other work online, how could they do that?
So the best way would probably be, my website's a bit outdated. I have to get that sorted out shortly. But my Instagram and Facebook handle are Shawn Andrew, so SHAWN Andrew music. So the W serving has the M for music. Or on Spotify or Apple Music, any of those streaming platforms. It's all, just type in Shawn Andrew and it'll show up.
Well, and the beauty of our technology today is that somebody could hear a song, have it be in Portuguese, understand a little bit about it so that motivates them to look up the lyrics and to understand what the song's talking about. I really feel privileged that you came here today and you told us a little bit, not just about your music, but also about your family. I'm very close to my grandma as well. So that really is something that's really special to me. And I know that it's a very unique bond that if you're lucky enough to experience that in your life, you know that it's something that shapes you and you carry forward forever. But it's really beautiful that you've been able to share that with the world through your music. So as soon as we wrap up today, I'm going to listen to that song, and I think I'll probably pick up on a few of the words from my knowledge of Spanish, so I'll make sure to read all the lyrics too. So thank you so much, Shawn, and I'm glad that you ended up landing right here in London, Ontario. You are becoming a really important part of the local music scene, and I hope that anybody out there who sees you at an open mic or just out in the community takes the time to say hi and to get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you so much, Jenna.